individual soul. Are we there?
You are equal, dear Lord, they prayed, you are equal to all with no partiality toward a particular type of living entity.
Oh, yes. Okay. Dear Lord, the personified Vedas continued. If saintly persons do not know.
You're equal to all.
Okay.
You're equal to all. It's such a long chapter. It's been very difficult keeping tabs on it, actually.
Equal to all.
Yes, I'll read it anyway, and then we'll go from there. Hopefully you can catch up. The Vedas personified continued, speaking to Krishna. You are equal to all, dear Lord, they prayed, with no partiality toward a particular type of living entity. It is due to their own material desires that all living entities enjoy or suffer in different conditions of life. As your parts and parcels, they are just like the sparks of a fire, and just as sparks dance in a blazing fire, all living entities are dancing on your support. You are providing them with everything they desire, and yet you are not responsible for their position of enjoyment or suffering. There are different types of living entities, demigods, human beings, animals, trees, birds, beasts, germs, worms, insects, aquatics, and they all enjoy or suffer in life while resting on you. So this is the Vedas now explaining very nicely how Krishna is completely, he is equal to he is not partial to anyone. He's not partial, he's impartial, but according to the living entity's actions, he reciprocates with that. So if someone is very sinful and they're determined to create suffering for other beings, then they come fully under the law of karma. And they simply, under the force of time, which is imperceivable in this world. Time is elusive. We measure it with a clock, we measure it with watches, but actually time is completely elusive because we don't see it passing. We don't see that our life is reducing and the final day is coming, the end. Hare Krishna, Damodar Bilasatya, Hari Bol Prabhu. The pride of Manchester has arrived. Well, Steve Sachinandan is the original pride of Manchester, but you know.
Yes, I'm just ordinary citizen of England.
The pride of Stockport is here.
Not really. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
We're on page 272 of the Krishna book.
Krishna book, okay.
This is part 2, though. This is part 2. See, I'm not sure which one. You're reading a different one, you see. This is part 2.
I think I got both the books, but I'll see.
Yeah, 272 it is we're reading. And the Vedas are saying that Krishna is impartial to everyone. And it's true, he is impartial. However, if one is very devoted to him, it may appear that Krishna's impartiality is compromised because he reciprocates with the devotee. But no, his impartiality is perfect because he simply reacts according to how we are acting. That's all.
Are you talking on the liberation of Jarasandha?
No, chapter 87, Prabhu.
87.
Personified Vedas prayers. We're about
Yes, we're personified Vedas, okay.
We're about 32 pages into it.
Okay.
Is 80 pages in that chapter, very long chapter.
Yeah.
So the Vedas personified have explained how the Lord is completely impartial, and he is. If the Lord will allow us, if we want to go to hell or if we want to remain in the material world, he says, yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. Enjoy it. I want to go into the Brahma Jyoti. Go for it. Yes, Brahman is ecstatic. Go into Brahma. Be one with everything. You want to be in the illusion that you are the supreme God yourself, that you are everything in total oneness with everyone. Great. There you go. There's the Brahma Jyoti. Stay there for 10,000 lives of Brahma.
Yeah.
We're talking about Brahma's life is 300 trillion years. So 10,000 times 300 trillion. Go for it. But still, Aruya Kritshena Padam Padam Tata Patantya Do Yushmadang Grayam. Famous verse from the 10th canto that the living entity, even staying in Brahman for millions and trillions of solar years, still has to come back to the material world. This is the fall down of the living entity from Brahman, from the Brahma Jyoti. So yeah, 10,000 times 300 trillion. It seems like an eternity. I mean, that is compared to our life of 70, 80 years it's an eternity, but still we have to come back.
Yes.
If you want to go to Krishna Loka, Krishna will help us, because he's not being partial. He's thinking, well, you need a bit of help along the way here. I'll give you knowledge in the heart and I'll guide you back to me. I'll give you a guru. If you're sincere, I'll give you Prabhupada. There you go, there's Prabhupada. Read his books. Take Diksha if you can, in the line of Parampara, and come home. But Krishna is totally impartial. Okay,
Yes.
this is the verse here. The Vedas personified continued, dear Lord, you are equal to all with no partiality towards any particular type of living entity. And everyone is enjoying the results of their actions and reactions. That's all. That's the deal. And of course, for a devotee, people say, oh, Krishna, he's being really nice to the devotee. No, Krishna is famous for taking away. He doesn't give his devotee an easy time. No, Bhagavatam 10.88.8 is the shloka to remind us that Krishna's partiality can be very harsh. If he appears to be partial, that's 10.88.8. Who knows 10.88.8 from the Srimad Bhagavatam? All right, Katie, got the message. 10.88.8. Yasyaham.
Yasyaham anugranami. Harishetad dhanam shanai. Tato dhanam tajantasya sajana dukha dukhitam.
If I'm especially favorable.
The personality of God said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another.
Haribol. Krishna is partial
Haribol.
to me. If he's partial to you, God help you.
Yeah.
Better, Krishna is not partial to you.
True.
So, Krishna is totally impartial. Look,
He says he's equal to everybody.
it's the princess of Choli is here. Haribo.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Welcome, Gemma.
Thank you.
We have some special guests tonight. Sachinandan Prabhu is cleaning his home at the moment. He's just tidying up and he's listening in. And Katie in Liverpool has joined in and she's just having a listen in as well. She's got a few things on. So just to let you know, and we've got Sachin Prabhu Malvia from Swindon, and he's one of our Swindon Bhakta Sangha members who does a lot of Nice preaching over there with Rupesh and the team.
Hare
So
Krishna,
that's
Prabhuji.
who feels
I'm
me.
not doing anything. I don't do anything, Prabhuji. Sorry.
But you sleep, don't you sleep? Don't you sleep? Where's Rena? Rena's doing all the cooking there. She makes cakes. Rena. Okay, so that's that little part there. Has anyone found the part yet?
No.
Yes, Alex, go ahead.
Living entities are of two kinds. One class is called Nitya Mukta, ever liberated, and the other is called Nitya Buddha, Bada, ever conditioned. Nitya Mukta living entities are in the spiritual kingdom, and the Nitya Badas are in the material world. In the spiritual world, both the living entities and the Lord are manifest in their original status. Like live sparks in a blazing fire. But in the material world, although the Lord is all pervasive and in his impersonal feature, the living entities have forgotten their Krishna consciousness to a greater or lesser degree. Just as sparks sometimes fall from a blazing fire and lose their original brilliant condition. The sparks fall into different conditions and retain more or less of their original brilliance. Some sparks fall onto dry grass and thus ignite another big fire. This is a reference to the pure devotees who take compassion on the poor and innocent living entities. The pure devotees ignite Krishna consciousness in the hearts of their conditioned souls, and thus the blazing fire of the spiritual world becomes manifest even within the material world. Some sparks fall onto water, they immediately lose their original brilliance and become extinct. They are comparable to the living entities who take their birth in the midst of gross materialists, in which case their original Krishna consciousness becomes extinct. Some sparks fall to the ground and remain midway between the blazing and the extinct conditions. Thus, some living entities are without Krishna consciousness. Some are between having and not having Krishna consciousness. Some are actually situated in Krishna consciousness. The demigods in the higher planets, Lord Brahma, Indra, Chandra, the sun god, and various other demigods are all Krishna conscious. Human society is between the demigods and the animals, and thus some humans are more or less Krishna conscious, and some are completely forgetful of Krishna consciousness. The third grade living entities, namely the animals, beasts, plants, and trees, and aquatics, have completely forgotten Krishna consciousness. This example stated in the Vedas regarding the sparks of a blazing fire is very appropriate for understanding the condition of different types of living entities. But above all other living entities is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or Purushottam, who is always liberated from all material conditions. Hare Krishna.
All right, that's a long paragraph there. And Gemma, we're on the 87th chapter, and we're around about 33 pages into the chapter. So the this particular section now is beginning, this paragraph's beginning, the question may be raised. Now, I like this very much. The question may be raised as to why the living entities have fallen. Now, this is good because not many speakers will challenge themselves. So when Srila Prabhupada in his books, which he often does, states that the question may be raised, what he's actually doing is anticipating our doubts, and that the challenge is there on a particular subject. So this is the point where we are at. Can you find it, Gemma?
Yeah, I've got it.
You've got, wow, give her a clap. That was fast. Wow. You've had your Ekadashi Weetabix today. Of course, today is Indira Ekadashi. It's a famous Ekadashi and especially recommended to read the Krishna book on Ekadashi. So everyone today will be getting special punya, maha punya, for reading Krishna book on this holy day of Ekadashi. The question, go ahead then, Gemma.
All right. The question may be raised as to why the living entities have fallen by chance into different conditions of life. To answer this question, we first have to understand that there cannot be any influence of chance for the living entities. Chance is for non-living entities. According to the Vedic literatures, living entities have knowledge, and thus they are called Chaitana, which means in knowledge. Their situation in different conditions of life, therefore, is not accidental. It is by their choice because they have knowledge. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, "Give up everything and just surrender unto me." This process of realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead is open for everyone, but still it is the choice of the particular living entity whether to accept or reject this proposal. In the last portion of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna very plainly says to Arjuna, "My dear Arjuna, now I have spoken everything to you. Now you may choose to accept it or not." Similarly, the living entities who have come down to this material world have made their own choice to enjoy this material world. It is not that Krishna sent them into this world. The material world was created for the enjoyment of living entities who wanted to give up the eternal service of the Lord to become the supreme enjoyer themselves. According to Vaishnava philosophy, when a living entity desires to gratify his senses and forgets the service of the Lord, he is given a place in the material world to act freely according to his desire, and therefore he creates a condition of life in which he either enjoys or suffers. We should definitely know that both the Lord and the living entities are eternally cognizant. There is no place, there is no birth and death for either the Lord or the living entities. When creation takes place, this does not mean that the living entities are created. The Lord creates the material world to give the conditioned souls a chance to elevate themselves to the higher platform of Krishna consciousness. If a conditioned soul does not take advantage of this opportunity after the dissolution of this material world, he enters the body of Narayana and remains there in deep sleep until the time of another creation.
Okay, that's a very nice paragraph there. Very nice. So these are the Shrutis speaking. These are the personified Vedas praying to the Lord and offering this knowledge. And Prabhupada is making this point here that the question may be raised. And of course, the question is always raised in books, conversations, down the pub. After people have had a few jars of ale, they may open up and say, "Wow, well, what is it all about anyway? Why are we alive? And why, oh, don't talk about that nonsense. Nobody knows." And the usual responses from sort of skeptical, cynical people. And then you've got the scientists. What is the mystery of the cause of the universe? What's behind the Big Bang? Everyone's asking this question. And Prabhupada is very nicely answered here that the purpose of this material world is simply an arrangement is made for those living entities who want to give up the service of the Lord. In other words, give up being a servant, having a mentality of being the servant, and they want to become the master. And the master means that they are the enjoyers of this material nature. They can dominate and enjoy in various ways, manipulating this way and that way. But the end result is that they want to enjoy. They want to be the enjoyer, and this is the Purusha Bhava, which is the nature of the living entity in this world. And it's just, whole universe is just designed to give the living entity a chance to be God. There you go. Krishna says, okay, you want to give up? There's no options in the spiritual world. There's no option there. You know, you're situated in your constitutional position as a piece of grass or a cow or a tree, a kalpavriksha, or as a human form. There's no humans in the spiritual world, of course. Maybe human forms, but everyone has got their swarup, whether it be a grass. I mean, when I joined the temple, that you could become a piece of grass in the spiritual world, I really didn't fancy that idea. That didn't go down very well. I was depressed for a few weeks after hearing that. You mean I'm doing all this, getting up in the morning, taking freezing cold baths, going out in a van with a bunch of crazy guys, to chanting and giving out books, all to become a piece of grass. So it didn't go down too well. Anyone got any comments about that?
It comes gradually. In the beginning, everybody thinks I'm better than everybody, you see. But gradually, when you get into the Krishna consciousness, into the moment, then you have that feeling that you're nothing, you see, compared to others.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's a good point. That's a good point. We actually start realizing that we're less than a piece of grass. Give that man a clap. Anything there, Alex? Prabhu?
Yeah, I think my mother reminded me today that as you come off and you put your foot down onto the ground, that you need to ask for forgiveness for anything that you do that is harmful to anything. And if when you do that, you actually are even if it's a blade of grass, you're accepting that there's some jiva, there's something in there, consciousness, and you giving it respect. That even if you have no choice, you have to walk on it or do whatever, you're compassionate and considerate in your intent, and that kind of bhakti is something which I'm just very lucky that I've got from my mother. She's got this without even going to school or anything. She would, even if she passes a church or a mosque, she would nod her head down to give some respect. And I think when you look at that there are people who are conscious enough to do that automatically without reading any books. It gives you humble kind of feeling that you really, as much as you read, there's nothing compared to something which is like already instilled in you. Hare Krishna.
Well, let's give Alex's mum a big clap there. Haribo. Well done, mummy. What's your mum's name?
Lalbai.
Lalbai. I tell you what, she is very advanced. And like Damodar Prabhu said, you know, we gradually feel that we are lower. And of course, this is the point where I came in there. Mr. Ahankarya, I was at the Govinda Kund. I can remember I was at Govinda Kund in 1992 with a devotee called Dhruva Maharaj, one of Prabhupada's disciples, and he took a group of us on a tour of Radha Kund, Govardhan, Shamakund, Govinda Kund, on that side. And at the Narada Kund also. And at Govinda Kund, it was talking about how the gopis were praying to become a blade of grass. And even then, 1992, I'd been in the temple service for 12, 13 years. I've been, I'm not saying I've been a devotee, because being a devotee is like Lalbai there. Like, she is a devotee. She's got the mentality of bhakti. So I've been associated with ISKCON for 13 years, and still it gave me a shudder to think that I'd be a blade of grass, you see. But the process in Krishna consciousness is so nice that Krishna, he tramples us down daily. Krishna, Gemma, if you're feeling a bit trampled these days, you know who's behind it. Krishna is trampling all of us down so that we're becoming lower and lower. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what's that famous verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Gemma? Trinadapi.
Sahishnuna.
Yes, go on, Katie. Oh no, Katie's having a break. Let's ask.
Trinada
Yes,
Sahishnuna. I can't remember.
go on, Sachin.
I don't know.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Trinadapi, go on.
Not remember Prabhuji.
Oh, Trinadapi Sunichena. Let's all say it together. Let's follow Damodar. Damodar will lead us. Go on, Damodar. Turn your sound on.
Unmute Prabhuji.
All right, he's muted up. Okay, everyone. Trinadapi Sunichena.
Chinadapi Sunichina,
Ror Eva Sahishnuna.
Ro Eva
Sahishnuna.
Amanina Manadena.
Amanina Deva,
Kirtaniya Sadahari.
Itamia Siddhari.
So Amanina means not taking any respect, not wanting any appraisal or any credit. Amanina is a verse. Oh, I don't want to. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was told, Advaita Acharya said, "Oh, you are Krishna." He was running away from him. He said, "No, no." When devotees would glorify Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was Krishna, even Krishna doesn't like to be glorified like that. So this is natural, amanina, manadena, always offering respect to others. When I joined ISKCON, 78, 79, I remember devotees daily were offering obeisances at least 10, 20 times a day, bowing down to each other. You meet devotees that are always on their knees. And when I joined, I had very sore knees from having to bow down, because once one bows down, you got to bow down with them there. So always down on the knees. So manadena, and then of course feeling oneself sunicha. Sunich means lower than a blade of grass. And then Toror Iva Sahishnu, the tree, being more forbearing and tolerant than a tree that is abused in so many ways. We won't talk about how trees are abused, but they are very badly treated trees. So this is the qualification for getting Krishna's name. So Krishna will help us in this way. Well, that was a really good paragraph there. Go on and Damodar, do you know where we are, Prabhu? In this,
Sorry, Prabhuji, 1 minute.
in this creation.
Okay, in this connection or creation?
In this connection, sorry.
Yeah. In this connection, the example of the rainy season is very appropriate. Seasonal rainfall may be taken as the agent for creation because after the rainfall, the wet fields are favorable for growing different types of vegetation. Similarly, as soon as there is creation by the Lord's glancing over the material nature, immediately the living entities spring up in their different living conditions. Just as different types of vegetation grow after a rainfall. The rainfall is one, but the creation of the different plants is varied. The rain falls equally on the whole field, but the different plants sprout up in different shapes and forms according to the seeds planted. Similarly, the seeds of our desire are varied. Every living entity has a different type of desire, and that desire is the seed which causes his growth in a certain type of body. This is explained by Rupa Goswami by the word Papa Bija. Papa means sinful. All our material desires are to be taken as Papa Bija, or the seeds of sinful desires. The Bhagavad Gita explains that our sinful desire is that we do not surrender unto the Supreme Lord. The Lord therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita, I shall give you protection from the reactions of sinful desires. These sinful desires are manifested in different types of bodies. Therefore, no one can accuse the Supreme Lord of partiality and giving one type of body to a certain type of living entity and another type of body to another living entity. All the bodies of the 8,400,000 species are created according to the mental condition of the individual living entities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, only gives them a chance to act according to their desires. Therefore, the living entities act by taking advantage of the facility given by the Lord.
Okay,
Thank
wow,
you.
that's another amazing paragraph there. And of course, this Papa Bij, the Papa Bij, the seed of the sin is there in the heart, which is performed, is created by the performance of a previous sin. Hare Krishna Superjyoti from Swindon.
Hare
So this Pap Bij, very difficult. There's so many bejas, seeds of sin that we have sown from other sinful activities. So sin will create more sin.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, apologies for being late. I just saw your meeting invite now.
Oh,
Hence, I just
you're more than welcome.
sincere apologies for
We're
being
just
late.
talking about the Pap Bij, the sin,
Yeah.
the seed of the sin. You see, people say, "Oh, I sinned. I couldn't help it." You see, I was, the situation forced me to sin. But what it is, yes, it may be that the situation created a problem where you performed a sin. That's also a fact. But who created the situation? Who created the situation? So
God.
we have created that situation ourselves, according to these teachings of the Vedas here. We have created that situation in a previous lifetime.
Okay.
So we have created, it's natural to say, oh, God created the situation. Yes, his energies are creating, but we are in this world, Krishna hands us the power to manipulate the energies, you see, in this world. He gives us a little bit of power. Okay, you can move things around. You can do some stuff. You can create finance. You can destroy and create in a small scale, like we're seeing in Israel now with Hamas, the
Yes.
destruction and retaliation, tit for tat, we call it. You hurt me, I hurt you. This is the normal thing in the material world. This is what happens. But we are creating that situation where the sin was being performed. We have created that difficulty ourselves from a previous life. And then the Pap Bij becomes Parabdha. Parabdha means it fully grows. It's Aparabdha, it's Kut, Aparabdha, and then Parabdha. It manifests in front of us. And we are very expert at saying, oh, this is God's fault, or this is their fault. This is that. No, we've created the problem ourselves, and then we try to blame everyone else for it. This is the typical sinful mentality of the living entity in this world. That's why Krishna recommends that we don't blame anyone for anything except number one. Number one meaning not Bhagwan, but
us.
this number one. And therefore, the more we take responsibility for the problems that we have, the more we are freed of those problems. That's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, famous verse by Lord Brahma, which I'll ask Damodar Vilas to recite. Tate nukampam. Turn the sound on, Prabhu.
Which one is it? Tattena kampan sushakshamano, something like that. Okay, let me find it. I've forgotten that now.
No. Oh, I thought you'd know this one. Tatenu kampam susamikshamano punjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vapubir vidadhan namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadaya bhak. Famous verse quoted by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya. He wanted to change the word mukti pade to bhakti pade, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, don't change. Mukti also means, in the higher sense, also you automatically get mukti with bhakti. So mukti and bhakti are the same thing if you have bhakti. So like if you have the bhakti of Alex's mother, for example, Lalbai, with her mentality, her very humble mentality, that's bhakti. So he says that if one undergoes, if one continues to undergo suffering in life, we suffer from other living entities, neighbors, sometimes our own family, friends even, animals, insects. I just got bitten by an insect at the Kirtan in Oldham on Saturday. A little mosquito bit me just there. It's been giving me trouble for 2 to 3 days now. Just a little bite. A little bite like that causes so much trouble. And as long as we are suffering, one who is able to tolerate one's suffering, can tolerate suffering, and at the same time not blame anyone. No, it's your fault. It's their fault. It's the government's fault. It's Rishi Sunak's fault. It's Sakia Starmer's fault. It's this one's fault. It's got to be Donald Trump's fault, for God's sake. You know, it's actually everything, that every situation that's created is created by ourselves. And therefore, the Pap Bij is there, and one who can resist committing the sin and pray to the Lord for mercy. Please, I'm sorry I'm in this condition. It's my fault, and I've made this mistake. Please, Krishna. And one who tolerates all kinds of setbacks without reacting and offers prayers, Hridvag Vapubir, from the core of the heart to the Lord, and prays to be able to tolerate and serve him without any expectation of reward. That person is Dayabak. He is the inheritor of the right to go back to Godhead. It becomes his rightful claim, like your father leaves you money in the will, and your name is there clearly. Subhajoti Day, X million crore rupiah. Das crore rupiah.
Honestly, I haven't got so much of money. I am a struggling person, particularly financially struggling person.
Inheritance is there. For Gemma, 5 million pounds for Gemma in the inheritance.
In
And
India, not
her name
India.
is on it. Gemma Morgan, the Chorley princess, is getting 5 million pounds. So when it's there, that is your Dayabak. This is called in Sanskrit Dayabak. It is your inheritance. So
Nowadays, she has not been coming to temple.
So this is the point Brahma's making, this very famous verse, Tate Nukamba Susamik. I learned that verse I read it in the first of all in the Brahmachari Ashram of Bhaktivedanta Mana in 1984. I remember going up and having a read there and before going out in the evening. And I remember reading that and I wrote it down straight away. I said, that is I didn't know the significance of it at the time. I just said, oh, that's an important verse. And I've known it since 1984. Okay, let's carry on, Alex, to the next part.
Hare Krishna.
At the same time,
Oh yeah. At the same time, the living entities are born from the transcendental body of the Lord. This relationship between the Lord and the living entities is explained in the Vedic literatures, wherein it is said that the Supreme Lord maintains all his children, giving them whatever they want. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. It is very simple to understand that the father gives birth to the children, but the children act according to their own desires. Therefore, the father is never responsible for the different futures of his children. Each child can take advantage of the father's property and instruction, but even though the inheritance and the instruction may be the same for all the children, out of their different desires, each child creates a different life and thereby suffers or enjoys.
there we are. The inheritances come up there, look, in that purport. Okay, Gemma, carry on. Similarly. You can turn your sound on, Gemma, sorry.
I'll start again, sorry. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita's instructions are equal for everyone. Everyone should surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and he will take charge of one and protect one from sinful reactions. The facilities of living in the creation of the Lord are equally offered to all living entities. Whatever there is, either on the land, in the water, or in the sky, is equally given to all living entities. Since all living beings are sons of the Supreme Lord, everyone can enjoy the material facilities given by the Lord, but unfortunate living entities create unfavorable conditions of life by fighting among themselves. The responsibility for this fighting and creating favorable and unfavorable situations lies with the living entities, not with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, if the living entities take advantage of the Lord's instructions as given in the Bhagavad Gita and develop Krishna consciousness, then their lives become sublime and they can go back to Godhead.
Okay, that's very good. Yeah, that paragraph there is all about how we are enmity. In this, we create enmity. You are my enemy. I will kill you. This is the demoniac mentality. The greatest enemy of everyone. The greatest enemy of everyone is the ignorance that we are remaining under. And we remain in ignorance through our diet. Some people, they are eating food that is coming from violence, and therefore violence is in anger. Anger, as explained in Bhagavad Gita, Krodha, it is manifested from the mode of ignorance, anger. So eating the slaughtered animals creates so much anger and insensitivity in the living being that they become absorbed in ignorance. And therefore, one who is a Pashugna, Pashugna means a killer of the animal. Pashugna also means killer of the self. Means that they're killing their own friends to find themselves. If your sarup, your real person, your real opportunity to find yourself, or as Lord Jesus would say, know thyself, to find thyself, to understand oneself, or the Swarup, our real Swarup, that is taken away by the Pashugna, the killer of the animals, or those people who have a philosophy where they kill any opportunity to understand God by denying the very existence of God, or that they can be a supreme controller. And there are plenty of those around, mentioning Dr. Richard Dawkins or Dr. Brian Cox. These are our own British atheistic scientists who are doomed to a life of under Tamishra, the darkest hellish conditions, because they're denying the very existence of God, or the possibility that there could be a God existing. Okay, so carry on, Damodar Prabhu. One may argue. Translate sound.
Yeah. One may argue that because this material world is created by the Lord, he is therefore responsible for its condition. Certainly, he is indirectly responsible for the creation and maintenance of this material world, but he is never responsible for the different conditions of the living entities. The Lord's creation of this material world is compared to a cloud's creation of vegetation. In the rainy season, the cloud creates different varieties of vegetation. The cloud pours water on the surface of the earth, but it never touches the earth directly. Similarly, the Lord creates this material world simply by glancing over the material energy. This is confirmed in the Vedas. He threw his glance over the material nature, and thus there was creation. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also confirmed that simply by his transcendental glance over the material nature, he creates different varieties of entities, both movable and immovable, living and dead.
Okay, that's a lovely one. That's a very nice example of the cloud. I've never heard that before. I've read it. I must have read it when I read Krishna book, but I can't remember that the cloud. Yes, the cloud is, could be a couple of miles up in the sky, and it's completely detached from the earth. But that cloud is creating the vegetables. Wow. I mean, it's a fact that without rain, there's no possibility. Anad Bhavanti, or how does it go? That sloka in the second chapter. Anad Bhavantan, where grains is performed, sacrifice must be performed because grains is created from sacrifice, because the sacrifice creates the rain. Anyway, there's a whole explanation there by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, how the rain, the cloud, way up in the stratosphere, not touching the earth, or barely touching, maybe touching the top of a mountain occasionally. And the cloud itself is also, you can't touch the cloud. If you go into the cloud, we can't really touch it. It's also, it's just mist. That's an amazing thing, a cloud, how it carries rain at the high stratosphere. And then at a certain point, it downpours so much rain that vegetables are created. So this is a great example of how God creates everything, and yet he doesn't have to be directly involved with this material nature, which he isn't.
It's 3:14, Bhagavad Gita 3:14.
Oh, can you say it, Prabhu?
Yes, Annad Bhavanti Bhutani Pragyad Anna Sambhavah Yagyad Bhavati Parjanyo Yagya Karma Samudbhava. And the translation is: all living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced from the performance of yagya, sacrifice, and yagya is born of prescribed duties.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that example of a cloud, we should all remember that. Alex, you can do the last paragraph, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Uh,
The creation of.
Now, the creation of the material world can therefore be taken as one of the pastimes of the Lord. It is called one of the Lord's pastimes because he creates this material world whenever he desires. This desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also extreme mercy on his part because it gives the conditioned souls another chance to develop their original consciousness and thus go back to Godhead. Therefore, no one can blame the Supreme Lord for creating this material world. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. And it's a very interesting point because at the end of when the material cosmos is destroyed by Lord Shiva, and he creates what we call Prajvara. And Prajvara or is another word. Another word is can't quite remember it right now. But he does a Tanda Nritya. He manifests as Rudra, as 11 Rudras. The sun becomes 12 times hotter. 12 times. And everything within the universe is burned up. So whatever you do is don't be around at that time.
Pralay. Is it Pralay?
Pralaya.
Pralay.
And Prajvara also is the heat. So this Pralaya business of Lord Shiva, at that point, the universes become empty, hollow shells. And Mahavishnu, the great Mahavishnu, he breathes in. Can we all do an inhale, please? By inhaling, all the millions of universes, Brahmandas, they enter into his body. And for the inhalation of the Lord, it can be for trillions of our years. So for trillions of years, we all become dormant without any activity. We become completely unconscious in a deep, as explained at the very beginning of our reading tonight, in a very deep state of unconsciousness. So then the Lord, when he feels like now is the time to give these living entities who are within me, when we say we merge into God, this is the merging, how we can merge into God, like we was at the Oldham Temple on Saturday, and one of the temple authorities at the end said, and it's very nice you've come here, and we're chanting Hare Krishna together so that we can all merge into the Lord, he said. So yes, we can merge into the Lord in this form of Pralaya, when we, at the end of the universe, we all enter into his body of the Mahavishnu, but we're in a deep state of unconsciousness for a very, 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 very extremely long period. And then, as explained here, when the Lord, out of his mercy, decides, now let's give these rascals, let's give these rascals, fools and rascals here, give them another chance to become Krishna conscious, let them go out, and then again, creation takes place. Brahma, Manu, Narada, the different rishis, and Prajapatis, and again, the universe will take place, and again, we get another chance to develop our Krishna consciousness. But unfortunately, most of us, we end up just running after the carrot. The big carrot is there in front of us. And like a donkey, we're there after the carrot. And we're just trying to enjoy sense gratification without any sense of Krishna consciousness. Until a pure devotee comes, like Srila Prabhupada, and gives us a chance. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much. So we're starting next week.
I have got a question based on the story, what you have, based on the facts, what you have told right now. you said that millions of universe went inside Vishnu. So was it Satyayug or was it Dwapar Yug or was it before that actually?
No, at the end of the universal span of the end
Cycle.
of life of Brahma, at that time, then Lord Shiva will burn up, everything becomes burned up within the universe. There's no planets. And again,
Okay.
we are all merged back into the body of Mahavishnu.
Body of Mahavishnu. So
And
this has happened before. This has happened before
this
Satyayug.
this is cyclic. It's cyclic. This is
Okay.
going on eternally. We may have been in and out of the body of Mahavishnu hundreds and thousands and millions of times. You see,
Okay.
we don't know how long. And
Yeah.
that's why the soul
Oh,
in
we
this
don't
world,
know how long. Okay.
we,
That
we,
means
it's called Nitya Bada. Nitya Bada means it is incalculable how long we've been doing this business of entering into the Mahavishnu. That's why
Okay.
some devotees and some scholars say that we have come from Mahavishnu. It's true. We have come from the Mahavishnu again, coming back into the material world. But originally, before and going in, out of Mahavishnu, coming back into the material world, trying to dominate this world in different ways.
So
Originally,
basically, this has happened before Satyayug because everything is
no.
recorded from Satyayug.
Satyuga is just one of the 4 yugas in the life of Brahma. And Brahma, in his day, there's 1,000 Satyugas.
Oh,
In his
okay.
night, there's 1,000. So there's 2,000 Satyugas in Brahma's day and night. And that's just one day. Then multiply by 30. So we're talking about, Brahma, then by 30 is a month, then by 12 for a year, then by 100. So you have to multiply, you come to the figure 311 trillion Earth years is a life of Brahma. And we've been in the material world not for that long. We've been for many Mahavishnus breaths. So we may have been in this material world for 1,000 times, 1,300,000,000,000,000,000 years. It's a long time.
But
And
that, nothing is recorded for that. Nothing is recorded, isn't it? So these informations.
It's in the Puranas, yeah, in the Vedas.
Okay.
Yeah, this
So
Vedas.
how these informations are recorded? So basically, what is on what basis these informations are accepted as truth? Because there is no evidence. Because our evidence goes.
No, because the they're just now finding this new thing, or they've dug this up, and they're always finding new things. And they haven't found half of the stuff yet that's out there. They haven't found the stuff that's at the bottom of the ocean yet, that's billions and trillions of years old. No,
yes,
we can't rely on empirical science to give us facts that are going back trillions of years.
Of course.
They don't even think the universe is that long. They're so dumb because there's instruments. There's instruments that they're using. They're very limited because they're built by these senses, which are limited. So we have to take knowledge from the unlimited to understand what is beyond the limited. That's why we accept the Vedas.
The Vedas and Puranas. Now, who documented this? Like we are learning from the scriptures. So basically,
Vyasadeva documented everything.
Sorry?
Yes.
Vedavyas.
Vedbash. Okay.
Vedavyas, yes.
He's empowered by Krishna. He is the Shakti.
Partial incarnation of Krishna.
By Krishna to write, to give us this information. And therefore, just by receiving it, we're able to understand everything clearly.
So he documents the Puranas, actually, Vedvash.
Puranas, yeah, he did everything, yeah.
Trillions of years,
Yeah, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll get the idea.
Sorry?
Because if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, I think third canto, or fourth canto, this is third canto.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
I'll go through. I've got the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, because he can't explain everything in 1 minute or 5 minutes, or even because it takes long
No, no,
time. So you
I-
read it, then you will understand. See.
yeah.
Our problem is that we don't apply ourselves to the process or to the study. And therefore, because we remain in ignorance, we are always doubting. But
No, not doubting. I'm just asking the questions because I want
no,
to
but
learn.
doubting must be there in all of us. It's not, Prabhupada says here, one may ask the question. Again and again, he's saying that. You may ask the question, you may ask the question. And of course, if we are intelligent, we must ask the question. The worst thing to do is to give the pravachan, and everyone is sitting there saying, yes, I understand. Any questions? No, they don't understand anything. They don't
No,
know
I'm
nothing.
listening to you. I'm trying to digest. So that's the reason all these questions came up because, like Lord Ramchandra is Satya Yoga, then Shri Krishna is Dwapar Yoga.
No,
And
no.
everything-
Satya Yuga is Ram is
Treta Yuga,
Treta
Ram Treta
Yuga.
Yuga.
Ram is
Kapila Dev is Satya Yuga. If you read the books,
You'll get the idea, yes.
you'll be speaking to us and we listen to you. All you've got to do is you have to read the books like you're doing.
Yes, I need to read it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, if these scientists, they're so steeped in that they have to have proof, but they don't even realize that without the sun, without light, they can't see anything. That's how dependent we are, and that's how useless our senses are. Without light, we're blind. We're dependent.
Yes.
We're dependent on the light to be able to see, to make our experiments. They just don't understand how dependent they are because they're proud. And pride is a symptom of ignorance. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
I'd like to
Thank
thank,
you for your valuable time.
Sachinandan Prabhu for joining us today. And all the way from Liverpool, Katie Baker, the one and only, and Damodar Bilas Prabhu. And
Thank you,
Subhajo.
Prabhuji.
Thank you very much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Have a good evening. All of you.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
And may Steve Sachinandan's cleaning go on all night long.
Haribol. Haribol.